So, friends, today I will be explaining a fantastic crime thriller movie released in 2013 titled Prisoners. So, let's begin. The story opens by introducing Keller and his family. His family consists of his wife Grace, his son Ralph, and a daughter named Anna. It is Thanksgiving Day, and Keller is heading to his neighbor Franklin's house with his family to celebrate. Franklin's family includes his wife Nancy, their eldest daughter Liza, and their younger daughter Joy. Nancy and Grace begin making preparations for the meal, while all the children head outside the house together to play. An RV van was parked outside their home, and Anna and Joy start climbing onto it. However, Ralph stops them from doing so. Ralph hears a voice coming from inside the van, but he doesn't pay much attention to it. The children then head back inside the house, and we notice that someone inside the van was watching them. Afterward, everyone shares a meal together. Franklin plays the trumpet, and Anna and Joy sing a song in unison. The two girls then ask their parents for permission and go over to Keller's house to play. Caught up in festivities, the adults lose track of time. After quite a while, they realize that Anna and Joy have not yet returned. Keller then goes over to his own house to check on them. However, the two girls are nowhere to be found, causing the entire family to grow deeply worried about their safety. It is at this moment that Ralph tells Keller and Franklin about the RV van that had been parked outside their house. Everyone then rushes out toward the van. But the van is no longer there, and they begin to suspect that the man inside it must be the one who kidnapped Anna and Joy. Consequently, Keller calls the police and provides them with all the details regarding the van. In the next scene, we meet Detective Loki, who is assigned as the lead investigator on the case. That very same night, Loki manages to track down the van. However, when the police reach the van, the driver attempted to flee the scene in it, but he lost control of the vehicle and the van crashed into a tree. Subsequently, the driver was arrested and taken to the police station. Upon interrogation, it was revealed that his name was Alex. Detective Loki showed him photographs of Anna and Joy, to which Alex replied that he had never seen those children before. Loki then asked him why he had parked his van outside Keller's house. Alex explained that he had simply been sleeping inside the van. Following this, Loki visited Alex's home, where his aunt, Holly Jones, lived alone. She informed Loki that Alex's parents had died in a car accident when he was just 6 years old, after which she and her husband had adopted him. However, 5 years earlier, Holly and her husband had a falling out over some issue, and her husband subsequently left them. Holly further revealed that Alex has an IQ equivalent to that of a 10-year-old child, meaning his cognitive development had not progressed in tandem with his physical age, and he now possesses the reasoning and comprehension abilities of a 10-year-old. Subsequently, Alex's van was subjected to a thorough forensic examination. However, the investigators failed to find any evidence inside it either. The next day, Loki went to Keller's house to meet him and informed him that they had found no evidence against Alex. In response, Keller demanded that Alex undergo a lie detector test. However, Loki explained that since Alex possesses the mental capacity of a 10-year-old, he would be unable to comprehend the questions asked him. Therefore, a lie detector test could not be administered. Keller retorted that Alex must undoubtedly be lying, arguing that if he truly possessed the mental capacity of a 10-year-old, how was he capable of driving a vehicle? And why did he attempt to flee upon seeing the police? Loki, however, had no answers to these questions. This led to a brief argument between Keller and Loki, after which Loki left the premises. As he is leaving, Keller asks Loki to please keep Alex in custody until his daughter is found. To this, Loki replies that they haven't found any evidence against him, and therefore, they cannot hold him in custody for more than 48 hours. Loki then departs. Subsequently, Loki advances his investigation by visiting and questioning every registered sex offender residing within a 10-kilometer radius, hoping to uncover a lead regarding the missing girls. During these interrogations, he learns about a priest. Loki then proceeds to the priest's home, where he discovers the priest lying unconscious. Inside the house, he finds a basement door that had been concealed behind a refrigerator. Upon opening the door and entering the basement, Loki discovers the decomposing body of a man. Loki then questions the priest about the body. The priest reveals that he does not know the man's name. However, 6 months earlier, the man had come to him to make confession, admitting that he had kidnapped and murdered 16 children. He had also stated that he intended to continue kidnapping and killing children in the future. And so, I lured this man here and then finished him off to ensure he could never harm another child again. The priest also reveals that this man was a complete psychopath who believed he was exacting revenge upon God by killing children. In any case, the very next day, Alex is released. This enrages Keller, who immediately attacks Alex right outside the police station. Alex then quietly whispers to Keller, "The entire time I was with them, they didn't cry, not even once." Hearing this sends Keller into an even greater fury, as it confirms the suspicion that Alex knows the whereabouts of Anna and Joy. The police then escort Keller away, and he subsequently recounts the entire incident to Loki. However, Loki remains convinced that Keller is merely lying in an attempt to keep Alex in custody. Consequently, he takes no action based on Keller's statement. Faced with this situation, Keller realizes that he must now find his daughter on his own, having lost all hope in the police investigation. He begins keeping a vigil outside Alex's house. Late that night, when Alex steps out to walk his dog, Keller follows him. At that moment, Alex is humming the very same song that Anna and Joy had sung at the Thanksgiving party. This solidifies Keller's suspicions beyond doubt. He kidnaps Alex and takes him to his old, abandoned house. He then brings Franklin to location as well. Upon seeing Alex, Franklin is visibly shaken and tells Keller, "This is absolutely the wrong path to take. You shouldn't be taking the law into your own hands." Keller responds, "I am absolutely certain that he is the one who kidnapped our daughters. If he remains free, our daughters' lives will be in grave danger." Franklin attempts to reason with him, insisting, "We need to report all of this to the police." However, Keller had completely lost faith in police, as he believed that Alex would once again feign mental instability in front of them, and they would simply let him go again. Consequently, he decides to take matters into his own hands and begins torturing Alex, demanding information about his daughter. Yet, despite enduring a severe beating, Alex refuses to utter a word. Meanwhile, Loki was also pouring his heart and soul into solving this case. He retrieves the details of all the children previously kidnapped from this area by scouring police records. Subsequently, he visits the home of Mrs. Milland, whose son had also been abducted in the past. Mrs. Milland reveals to Loki that her son was kidnapped 26 years ago, and she has received no news of him since. She also mentions that on the day her son was taken, a white RV van was parked outside their house. Hearing this, Loki becomes deeply troubled, as a white RV van had also been parked outside Keller's house on the day of the recent abduction. By now, 4 days have passed since the girls went missing. The entire community is deeply distressed, and they have organized a candlelight march to raise awareness. Detective Loki was present at the march, as was a man named David. However, the moment David spots Loki, he flees the scene. Loki gives chase in an attempt to apprehend him, but David manages to slip away. The following day, Loki has a sketch of David created and distributes it to all the news channels. After seeing David's image on television, a young woman calls Loki. She works at a clothing store and informs Loki that David visits their store every weekend to purchase children's clothing. Curiously, however, she notes that he buys clothes in a different size each time. Loki asks her for David's address and other details, but she explains that he always pays in cash, leaving him with no record of his personal information. Loki then instructs her to call him immediately the very next time David visits the store. Now, under the cover of night, David stealthily breaks into Keller's house. However, Grace suddenly wakes up and spots David. But before she can wake Ralph, David escapes by leaping out a window. Afterward, Grace calls Detective Loki, who immediately arrives at their home, where Grace recounts the entire incident to him. During their conversation, Loki learns that ever since their daughter was kidnapped, Keller has been spending his entire nights away from home. Grace had been sharing these details with Loki because Keller had told her that he was spending his nights with the police in an effort to find Anna as quickly as possible. However, Loki knows full well that Keller is not with them. Consequently, he begins to suspect Keller, wondering if he himself might be the one who kidnapped Alex. The following day, he tails Keller, but Keller spots him following him. Therefore, instead of heading toward Alex, he goes to a wine shop instead. On the second night, Keller devises a new method to torture Alex. He locks Alex inside an extremely small cabin, so cramped that there wasn't even enough room to sit down and where no light could penetrate. Inside this cabin, Keller would alternately pour in either scalding hot water or freezing cold water. Yet, despite enduring such intense torture, Alex reveals nothing. He simply keeps repeating, "I am not Alex. I waited for him for so long, but he never returned. I just want to play with him." However, Keller fails to make any sense of anything he says. Meanwhile, Loki, having tracked Keller, arrives at the location and enters the house by jumping through a window. Keller spots him entering and immediately locks Alex inside a small cabin to ensure her cries cannot be heard outside. Keller then feigns sleep and tells Loki that ever since his daughter was kidnapped, he has been sleeping in this very spot because he cannot bring himself to face his wife. Following this, Loki begins to search the house. However, Keller had covered his tracks so meticulously that Loki finds absolutely no evidence of Alex's presence. Just then, Loki receives a call from the girl at the store. She informs him that David had stopped by earlier. She explains that the moment she called Loki, David fled the premises. However, during the brief encounter, she had managed to note down David's car license plate number. Using the car number, Loki tracks down David's address, goes to his home, and places him under arrest. Inside David's house, Loki discovers several suitcases containing numerous snakes and clothes stained with the blood of young children. In one of the suitcases, Loki finds a diary bearing an inscription. Only when you've deciphered all the paths will you be able to find your way home. The diary was filled with drawings of various mazes. Unable to grasp their significance at the time, Loki takes David into custody and returns to the police station. Subsequently, Franklin and Keller are summoned to the police station to identify the blood-stained clothing recovered from David's house. Both men immediately recognize the garments. Upon seeing the blood on the clothes, Franklin is overcome with the belief that his daughter has been killed. Keller, however, remains absolutely convinced that Anna is still alive. Refusing to lose hope, he continues his relentless search for her. Meanwhile, as Loki interrogates David, the suspect refuses to answer any of his questions. Instead, he simply continues drawing mazes on a sheet of paper, a behavior that enrages Loki, causing him to lash out and physically assault David, until several police officers intervene to restrain him. During the ensuing scuffle, David manages to steal a police officer's gun. However, instead of attacking the police, he turns a weapon on himself and commits suicide. Meanwhile, Keller remained convinced that Alex surely knew something about Anna and Joy. He confronts him one last time, pleading with him to reveal his daughter's whereabouts. This time, Alex tells him that she's inside a maze. Keller immediately demands to know where this maze is located, but Alex offers no further details. Consequently, Keller heads to the home of Alex's Aunt Holly in an attempt to uncover more information, but he finds no evidence there either. Elsewhere, Loki is deeply shaken by David's death. All the research he had painstakingly gathered regarding the case up to that point had been rendered futile by David's demise. Sitting in his office, he finds himself staring at the drawing of a maze, the very same maze David had been sketching on paper just before he died. Suddenly, his gaze falls upon a photograph, a picture of the corpse that had been discovered in the priest's basement. Around the corpse's neck hung a locket bearing an engraving of a maze, one that was an exact replica of the maze David had been drawing. Just then, Loki receives a crucial update. The blood found on the children's clothing was not human blood, but rather that of an animal. This meant that the children could still be alive. Following this revelation, Loki visits David's home, where he discovers that David himself had been kidnapped during his childhood. Although he had managed to escape 3 weeks later, his kidnapper had forced him to ingest something that caused him to lose his memory, leaving him forever unable to recall his own identity. There, Loki stumbles upon a book titled The Invisible Man. Inside, he finds written accounts of actual child kidnappings, interspersed with numerous illustrations of mazes. It becomes clear that the book was authored by the kidnapper himself, and that it was the kidnapper who had given the book to David, for inscribed within its pages was a message: "Decipher the maze, and only then may you return home." In other words, David was innocent. He was actually trying to solve the case himself, so that the kidnapper could be caught as quickly as possible, allowing David to discover the kidnapper's identity and return to his real family without delay. Meanwhile, Franklin's daughter, Joy, is found. She is currently in a hospital. Keller rushes to the hospital and asks her where she had been held and where Anna currently is. To this, she is only able to reveal that he had actually visited the very place where they were being held, and that they had even tried to call out to him, but their mouths had been gagged. Upon hearing this, Keller realizes that Alex's Aunt Holly Jones must surely be involved in the kidnapping, as he had recently visited her home. He then heads straight to Holly Jones's house and confronts her, stating, "I know my daughter is right here." However, Holly immediately pulls a gun on him and orders him to handcuff himself. Keller complies and puts on the handcuffs. She then administers a sedative to him and drags him out to her backyard. And here, friends, is where the true story of the movie unfolds. In reality, Holly Jones once had a son who had died during his childhood for reasons unknown. Consequently, Holly and her husband developed a deep hatred for God and waged a war against him, reasoning that just as God had snatched their child away from them, they would now snatch children away from others, thereby causing those people too to hate God. Thus, They began kidnapping children, presenting each captive with a maze to solve. Any child who successfully solved the maze was administered a narcotic substance that wiped their entire memory clean, after which they were set free. Such a child would then spend their life wandering in a perpetual quest to discover their true identity. Conversely, any child who failed to solve the maze was killed by the couple. Holly then reveals that Alex, too, is not their biological son. They had kidnapped him during his childhood as well. Meanwhile, Holly instructs Keller to get into a car and reverse it. As Keller complies, a secret trapdoor is revealed beneath the vehicle, and Holly orders him to descend into it. When Keller refuses, she shoots him in the leg and shoves him down through the opening. She then repositions the car over the spot to ensure that the existence of the secret trapdoor remains undetected. Elsewhere, we see Loki entering the very house where Keller had been holding Alex captive, and there, he successfully locates Alex. He then proceeds to Holly Jones's residence to inform her that they have found Alex. However, while there, Loki discovers a photograph of Holly Jones's husband, who is wearing the exact same locket that David had sketched. This revelation confirms that the deceased man whose body was found in the priest's basement was, in fact, Holly Jones's husband. Upon realizing this, Loki immediately deduces that the kidnapper is none other than Holly Jones herself. Drawing his gun, Loki begins a thorough search of the house and eventually finds Holly Jones in one of the rooms. She was just about to administer a lethal injection to Anna when Loki, holding her at gunpoint, intervened and stopped her. At that very moment, Holly fired a shot at Loki, the bullet grazing past his ear. Loki then riddled her with bullets before rushing Anna straight to the hospital, where her life was successfully saved. Subsequently, Alex's true identity was uncovered, and he was returned to his rightful home. It turned out that Alex was the son of the very woman whose house Loki had visited, specifically Mrs. Millen's son, who had been kidnapped 26 years earlier. However, Keller's sudden disappearance remained an unsolved puzzle for Loki. Following these events, an excavation was conducted around Holly Jones's house to determine how many children she had kidnapped. Late that night, as Loki was preparing to leave the site, he repeatedly heard the sound of a whistle, a sound being made by Keller from beneath the ground. The movie concludes with a lingering question. Will Loki be able to find Keller? So, friends, that was the story of the movie Prisoners. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Well then, let's meet in the next video with a brand new story. Until then, bye-bye.